Guys, Jason Guyman here tonight, and tonight we're going to talk a little bit about why the cheap guy goes out of business year after year after year because they're cheap. And so tonight I'm going to talk about pricing and how you can price and the importance of why not going cheap. And so this weekend was an amazing weekend that we had here in Cincinnati. We had an amazing training here. If you missed it, you definitely missed out a lot. I promise you. I'm not just saying that. It was awesome. We had 18 people here. It was really good. We had a lot of people going in and learning and taking action, and people getting into their LinkedIn and sending out messages because they learned how to use LinkedIn. We had people making videos because this weekend was an action-taking weekend, right? You can learn everything you want, but if you don't take action, you're never going to succeed in what you want in this business. And so with that, this weekend, I had Barry Little here. We had John here. We had all kinds of people here. We had a doctor here. We had everything. And yes, you heard that right. It was the first time I've ever had time to be able to help a doctor learn how to hang Christmas lights. And I did have a doctor here. And so you can't say I'm crazy, but I did have a doctor here. So that was awesome. It was a great time. We had we were able to use my facility. We were able to make sure that everyone got what they needed. And so that is what we got done this weekend. So I'm trying to actually get some stuff sent out for this live because I wasn't able to get it out on my personal page. So I'm sharing it out in different ways. So if you want to share it out, I'd highly watch it. I would highly appreciate it. I love helping people grow their business. And again, it was an amazing day. We had Sean Day here, and actually I didn't realize how much of a beast Sean Day is. And so some of you don't know who Sean Day is. I've had him on my podcast a couple times. And so Sean asked me if he could come and just hang out and, if he could speak a little bit. And so I'm like, sure, why not? So he talked about recruiting. He talked about leadership, and people love Sean Day. And so that was an amazing person to come and help and teach you all how to grow and how to take action. I learned a lot about Sean. I didn't know, I thought I knew a lot about Sean, but I actually learned a lot with Sean. He was doing a $2.5 million business that he sold. He had over 50 employees with his business. And so he knew what he was talking about, and he's an action taker. And that is what I love about Sean Day. So my book of the week is Endless Customers. I talked about this book a whole lot this week. But if you don't read this book and you don't take action, you can read the book and don't take action, don't even read the book, right? And so these are things that as we start growing and as we start investing in ourselves and as we start taking action, you will be successful. Like if you take action, and it might not be one day. Some people are like, well, Jason, I posted 3 videos. It didn't work. What you said didn't work because I only posted 3 videos. And you're right. It's not going to work with 3 videos. It's about consistently taking action. I was hard on this one this weekend because as Barry was in here in our class, he did 20 videos this weekend. And so as he's posting these 20 videos, everybody else is just like do. And here he's learning and posting videos and taking videos and posting videos. And so I was like, this is what I mean by taking action, right? If you don't take action, nothing is going to happen. And so this is important that we make sure that we take action and we grow our business. And this is why I want you to be able to grow your business. And so that's what I got done this weekend. Again, my book of the week is Endless Customers. Today we're going to talk about cheap customers. But before that, let's see who we got in the comments here and see who's going to take action and all of those good things. If I can find my, I have lost my, oh, that's why I've lost my mouse. Oh no. So we got a question right out of the get-go. First person, Luminex Elite. Can you explain performance pay? Yeah, you work, you get paid. Everybody's on performance paid. That's not really what you want to hear, but technically everyone is on performance pay. So basically what that is you're going to either pay by the bulb, you're going to pay by the strand, you might pay a percentage, and that is what performance pay is going to be. If you put up 100 bulbs, you get $80 or $100. If you pay 80 cents to a dollar a bulb, that is how that works. Gabe came to a class several years ago, still in business. That is awesome. Out of Arizona, I believe. Watching now on my way home. So Barry was here all weekend. And he's still going to watch on his way home back to Alabama. What's up, Jason? Pre-bulbing in the trailer. Listening to you tonight. I love my young listeners. Started this business this year, and we got our first deal off a bandit sign yesterday. They work. I love bandit signs. That is awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. How's everyone doing? See? Yes, from there. So I've got a couple things before I get started, and then I'm going to give value, and then I'm going to give you some more. But if you didn't know, if you want to take a chance to win a pitch hopper, I'm going to give away a pitch hopper on Wednesday night. If you buy something from christmaslights.io this week, from Wednesday to Wednesday, you will be entered to win a pitch hopper. And not only that, if you buy something, and it has to be at christmaslights.io, my shop, obviously, buy Christmas lights. So if you buy Christmas lights, you're entered to win. And on top of that, if you want a 5% discount, put in the discount code Let's Go, because it's go time, baby, right? It is go time. I know people are selling jobs, and that is awesome. So if you want a chance to win a pitch hopper and you get 5% off, put in Let's Go by Wednesday. So let's get this show on the road. You know, I hear this all the time. Jason, the market is getting flooded. And I just sit there and think, how the heck is the market getting flooded? There's a lot of clients out there. And so this is something that, as I sit there and think about this, I always think, why do we worry about the cheap guy? And a lot of people worry about the cheap guys. You know, I've said this many times that a lot of people can tell me more about their competitors than they can tell me about business of their own business. They can tell me how many reviews they have. They can tell me what they charge. They can tell me everything about their other competitors' businesses, but they can't even tell me what their average ticket is. They can't tell me what their close rate is. They can't tell me anything along of their business. And so this is what happens of the cheap guy's spiral of death, right? First off, they buy cheap materials. They buy incandescent lights or they buy super cheap materials. And then when they do this, they can't pay good workers. So then that means they're out on the jobs. Or their complaint is I can't keep anyone. Well, no, you can't keep one at $10 $10 an hour. They can go work at McDonald's for $20 an hour. They don't have to work outside. They don't have to work in the cold. They don't have to do any of that. Here's the other thing that a $4 guy can't do, or a $6 foot. He can't invest in marketing, right? How can I market to someone when I ain't got no money? Because, well, Jason, it only costs this. I'm making good money. But you don't realize all the other things that you go there. You know, do you have insurance? And you can't build systems, right? You can't build systems and you stuck doing everything for themselves. So let's talk about the guy that charges premier, right? We talked the guy that charges cheap. Now let's talk about the guy that charges premier. One, they buy good quality materials. And they might not be the cheapest, but they get it from someone that they don't have to worry about nothing. They get it quick. You're not sitting there waiting from China to see if it's going to come. And so we're going to get it quick. We are able to pay our guys good. And when you pay your guys good, guess what? They're going to take care of you, right? We can have external customers, but we also have internal customers. And if we don't take care of our internal customers, our external customers are not also going to be done easy. And here's the other thing, right? You can have a marketing budget. You can spend 10% in marketing, right? I am willing to spend 10% all day long in marketing for Christmas lights because I know that 80% of the customers are going to return next year. And even if they don't return, I still have all the lights that I can go put up on someone else's house. And then there's this thing called profit, right? I know that I have profit. And so some people don't know what profit is. And if you don't know what profit is, I would tell you to go read Profit First, right? Go read Profit First. Profit First is a great book. And then last, you can put systems in place. And let me tell you something. Systems and processes are what's going to be able to make you scale your business. If you don't have systems and processes in place, it's going to be real hard to run your business. It's going to be really, really, really hard to run your business. Right? And so this is the importance. And here's the thing, right? You can be the $6 a foot guy. Actually, I was laughing today. I was in my group and the guy's like, I'm charging $6 a foot and I still only got a 13% close rate. Well, I'm like, why don't you raise your prices to $8 a foot? And at least you're probably still going to be at 13% and you're going to make more money in the end. You're going to make more profit in the end. Right? And so this is the importance of what we need to do, because here's the thing. When we charge $8, $10, $12, $14 a foot, guess what? I can spend money on marketing. And, I see people, and I've heard it already, and I know they're kind of cheap, and they're like, I'm booked out to the third week of November. I'm like, okay, that's kind of dumb. Raise your prices or hire another crew. But raise your prices. We were on a phone call this weekend. I was on a phone call this weekend. And this guy is at $5 a foot. And I'm like, you need to raise your prices. And he's like, all the competition down here is $5 a foot. And I'm like, you didn't listen to what I said. I didn't say anything about your competition. I said you need to raise your prices. Right? Because if you don't raise your prices, you are going to go out of business. That's what's going to happen. So he's like, but you can't get that in my area. And then he's like, well, what happens if you get on something that is super steep? Or what happens when you get on something super crazy steep, right? And I'm like, rent a lift. But you can't rent a lift when you're at $5 a foot because there's no money in that profit area. And so what happens at that point? Well, you go out of business. But if you're charging premium pricing, you just go rent a lift. But what the funny part of it is I said, what did you do? He said, I did raise my prices. I charged $10 a foot, and they took it. And so that tells me that you have people in your area that will literally pay $10 a foot. That also tells me that you don't know how to raise your prices and you don't believe in yourself, right? Because if you don't believe in yourself, how is your customer going to believe in yourself? If you don't know how to talk to your customer, if you don't know how to speak to your customer, you know, I had this conversation in the class this week, and I've been talking about it, right? Let's see, first off, who is your customer, right? You know, Patrick put, there's a lot of cheap companies charging 200 to 500 in my area for cheap people, but I don't want or need cheap customers, right? There's people that need cheap customers. There's customers that need cheap people. I don't want to be that way, right? Because let's look at it this way. Let's say your target market is a stay-at-home mom, and she is living in $1 million house. Well, let's take first off the $1 million house. Well, the $1 million house is costing anywhere from 8 to 10 grand a month in a mortgage payment. A mortgage payment is making 8 to 10 grand a month. That's more than some of you make all month, and they're paying it just in a mortgage payment. But that's not all. Let's see. They drive a Yukon or a Cadillac Escalade. Well, that's another $100,000. That's 2 grand a month. So now we're at 2 grand a month plus 10 grand a month. So now we're at 12 grand a month just in a house and car. All but we got to go to Starbucks every day, and that's $10 a day. So $10 times 30 is $300. But yet they're spending more money on Starbucks than some of these people are charging to hang lights. Let's think about that a little bit. They're spending so $300 a month in Starbucks, times that by 12. Let's see, that's 3 grand. That's $3,600 just in Starbucks. But yet you're going to get on a roof that is super dangerous for $500. Let's just let that sink in a little bit. But yet you want to sit there and tell me you can't get this in your area. You know why you can't get this? Because you don't believe in yourself. You have never got yourself educated to believe in yourself. You know, I see this a lot. People will go out there and teach other gurus, teachers, whatever you want to be, on YouTube, whatever, $6 a foot. Well, you know why they're charging $6 a foot? Because they want you to buy lights. I want you to be successful. I want you to be my next Daniel. You know, Daniel's going to do 1.5 million this year. I don't know if he is or not, but he's probably not going to be far off of it. And so in year 3, you show me other guys that have gotten in year 3 to over $1 million. I've got another guy that's at $1 million in year 3 or real close to it. And so this is what I'm getting at is you can't be successful being cheap. You can't, you know, I know people that got hundreds of clients. They got 400 clients and they make $500,000. That sounds like a lot of work. That sounds like more work than I want to do, right? That's a lot of roofs getting up there for 400 roofs. For a $500,000, 400, $500,000, that doesn't sound pleasing to me at all, in my opinion. I mean, and they got 10 crews to do it because they're cheap. You know, that's my point. What do you got to do to grow this business, right? These are all things that we need to make sure of why we are choosing our customers, right? Who is our customers? Why do customers choose premium pricing? Why do they choose it? Because professional appearance, communication, right? Reliable service, you're actually going to show up when you say you are. When the lights have an issue, you're going to go back and fix them. When you have, at the end of the year, you're going to go take them back down. And so these are all things. You have the proper insurance so that if something does go wrong, and you have systems to get it done in a timely manner. You know, the person that I'm talking about that was at $5 a foot takes 3 hours to do a job. That's his average ticket's $1,000. So he does $2,000 a day. That is crazy, right? Because you don't have systems in place. That's why you can't get done in an hour to 2 hours. You put systems into place, you get these jobs done in 45 minutes to an hour and a half. Now, some of them use a little bit bigger, but on typical, this is what we're doing. So stop fighting the war of being cheap and start winning the war that matters, right? Let's start winning this war of winning the pricing war. How do we win it, right? First off, how are we pricing? Are we pricing 8 to 10 or are we pricing 10 to 12? Stop being cheap. I know this can be hard for people. Stop being cheap. As Barry put, this one here is probably the biggest one out of most of you. Start answering your phone and have a secretary. But again, you can't have a secretary to answer it if you don't make enough money to pay her. So that's why you got to have a secretary to do this, right? These are all important keys of growing this business. It just blows my mind sometimes of how people will sit there and tell me and argue with me that you can't do it. But yet I know people in their area that are doing it. You know, I hit on Daniel a lot because he's been successful and I talk to him a lot. You know, Daniel, he's going to do $1.5 million. There is people, he's getting $10, $12 a foot, $14 a foot. There is people in his area that will tell me you can't get more than $6 a foot out of Virginia. I've seen it. But yet I know you can have him, you have Elf Pros, you have Red Door, and they're all getting $8 to $12 a foot. But yet you tell me you can't get $6 a foot. I'm only charging $5 a foot because that's all I believe in myself. You know, one of the guys that came to my class, he's like, you know what the biggest takeaway was? Mindset. Because if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't have the courage for yourself, your customer is not going to believe in you because you don't believe in yourself. You know, I had a call this week or last week, and the guy was like, I don't know why I can't close. Why can't I close these jobs? But in the conversation, he said, 20 times. That is not confidence. In fact, that's a big lack of confidence. Big lack of confidence. If you're saying 20 times during a conversation, then guess what? They don't believe in you and you don't believe in you because you haven't done what you needed to do. You haven't educated yourself. You haven't taken sales training. You haven't done the things you need to do so that you are confident. And these are all little things that separate you from the competitors. And the number one is answering the phone. How do you answer the phone? Are you up on the roof? Are you on the ladder? Are you on the ground? Are you in your office? Or where, you know, those are all things that are going to make the big difference of a successful person versus a non-successful person. And so with that, what's your all's questions? I want to hear some of your questions. I want to answer your questions. I'm going to scroll up here. Again, if you want to know about my online training, I'm actually going to do a virtual training. a virtual training. So Friday of next week, at the end of this week, Friday, the end of this week, I'm going to do a virtual Friday and Saturday. So Friday, it'll be all about sales and marketing and all of that. And then Saturday is going to be how to install and the safety and all of that. And so it's going to be a 2-day training. It's going to be over Zoom. I'm going to make it so you don't even have to leave your house, but you still have to take action. And here's the thing. If you purchase more than $2,000 on the website, I'll give it to you for free. You don't even have to pay anything. So if you order it now, so when Friday comes, you can actually start cutting and doing the things and following me along with it as we go. So that's what I'll do. Actually, if you do the 1,000-foot starter pack, if you do the 1,000-foot starter pack, and I'll even do it for free for you. You won't even have to pay. I'll give you the link to it if you pay the 1,000-foot starter pack. But you have to take action. If you're not willing to take action, these guys here, they paid for the $5,000 a person to be here. They paid for the hotel. They had to pay $1,000 to fly here. So they paid $3,000 to do it. And so I'm going to do it. Now they get a little bit more because you get to be in person. You get to touch it. You get to feel it. You get to understand it a little bit more. So that's a little bit different. But if you have the material, you'll be able to do it in your house, in your comfort of your own home. And it's going to be next Friday and Saturday. And so if you need Christmas lights, you can go to christmaslights.io. If you buy anything from here to Wednesday night, I'm going to put everybody in a big on the spinning wheel, and then we will see who wins the pitch hopper. So I'm going to go back up here and we're going to read through some comments. If you got questions on Christmas lights, any questions, put them down here in the comments. Barry said, woohoo, I'm in. Action weekend for me. 2, yard signs went out Friday night. First lead came in through the website at 7:30 in the morning. The kicker, it's a beast. 2-story house, 20-foot roof, 12 by 12 pitch pitch up to 26 ridges. Good, 26-foot ridges. That's awesome. Go out there and get it done. Also, if you want to buy something off the website, you can use Let's Go. L-E-T, go, because it's go time. And you get a 5% discount this week only. You got to charge more than $5 a foot. There's a difference between being successful and being busy. I see a lot of people that love to have a job because that's what, they're booked out 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. You have a job, right? They're scared to death that they're only booked out 2 weeks, but that's okay. You'll get more business. You keep going out there and pushing and doing the things you need to do. It's amazing what you can do. Appreciate what you're doing here, Jason. You can only get to the 100,000. You can only get to a few $100,000 without systems, and you will never be able to scale. I would agree, because you're going to be on the truck. Until you get off the truck and you start figuring out systems, is the only way you're going to scale. Ain't worth $100 to take shortcuts and get hurt because you're too cheap to get what you need. Amen. I seen a lot of people get hurt last year, and it ain't good. And safety is a huge thing. These pitch hoppers over here, they're not that expensive. These pitch hoppers, right? They're $115 a piece, and they're worth every penny of it. You got the goat there. It's $600 or $700, but it's going to keep you safe. My lights up there are falling off because somebody went up there and didn't put them back on. He knocked them off. And so again, right, you might use the Ridge Pro. Well, Jason, I can buy the chicken ladder there. The ladder, it's super heavy. This thing weighs 6 pounds, that goat does. It's a great tool. I promise you, it's worth it. It's worth more that than falling off of the roof, right? It's more than worth falling off the roof. If you don't believe in yourself, your customers won't believe in you. If you can't say $10 or $12, is your pricing with a firm handshake and confidence? Of course, you will never sell it. Mindset matters, right? And so, with that, if anybody has any other questions related to Christmas lights, pricing, anything, equipment, I don't care, whatever you might have, let me know. So, what are you going to do this week to take action? What are you going to do in your business that is going to make a difference in your business this week? Are you going to post in Facebook groups and get business coming that way? Are you going to sit there and make excuses of why you can't get something, $5-6 a foot? Are you going to make excuses why your phone is not ringing? You know, you either make excuses or you take action. And if you take action, it's amazing what can happen to your business. When you take action, it's like I said, you know, we had a guy in our class and this week. I talked about LinkedIn. You know what he did? He went in and made his LinkedIn profile, got it better, and started commenting on people's stuff. And then not only that, he started reaching out and posting them to people and messaging people. And that's what I'm talking about. You got to take action. Then he started making videos and posting them in the groups. And guess what happened? He got a thing right here while we were here talking about this. And so this is the point of, if you don't take action, don't complain, don't make excuses of why you ain't getting business. Because the excuse is you. You're the excuse. Because you make excuses, then you're the excuse. Because that means you didn't take action. And if you don't take action, I get it. Making videos is scary as hell. But do you like making money? Is it more scarier than making money? So that's what I'm talking about. Awesome, Cardinal B. Are you going to be here Friday then? If you are, send me a message. That is awesome. Watch the live a few weeks ago, measuring roofline using guesstimation. But you also mentioned ChatGPT. Can you throw a prompt in the chat and it'll give a true estimation? I haven't got the perfect prompt for that yet. I'm sure you could. Just what I would do is, if you know the measurements of something, and I would tell it, hey, I would put lights wherever I want it. And then I would say, I need you to measure that. The door is 3 feet wide by 7 feet tall. Give it a known measurement that you know. So then that way it will measure those pixels to where the lights are, and it will probably pick up how big it is. And then I would still give an extra 10%, a little extra sugar, just to make sure that we got enough in it. So that's what I would do, Joseph. Bill from class posted the video today and already has 1.3 thousand views, and just posted another one using CapCut at the airport. Love seeing taking action, right? Bill came in from our class. He's like, I've never made a video in my life before. And he was one to take action. You know, I asked this week in class, who's going to come up here and show what it is? And everyone just sat there except Bill. Bill got up and took action. Then he's like, I'm going to make a video. And he's like, I don't know how to. I'm like, well, let's do it. So he went in, we got it up. He went and took the action of doing that. And not only did he take the action to do that, he then went and he had to download CapCut because he had never done it. He downloaded CapCut, and guess what? He posted that video right then and there. And then he got 1.3 thousand views on that video just by posting it. And so that's what I'm getting at, guys. It's not rocket science out there. We love to overcomplicate the crap out of this stuff, but it's not, and it's never going to be perfect. If you wait for the perfect time and your perfect voice and your perfect shirt and the perfect place to do it at, you'll never come up and have a video or a picture or a post or any of those things. So those are the importance of why we do these things that I'm telling you to do. Let's see here. Got my first few leads this weekend. I have a sales background, so I'm confident, but for sales process. Do you prefer in person or virtual quoting like over Zoom? I don't know many people that have done the over Zoom. I think it could work. I'm not saying it can't work. I don't know anybody that it's worked for. I don't know anybody that's done it much. I'm sure I like the ideal of it because again, you can kind of give that personal human touch and I think it could go very well for you. And if you made that part of your process, it would work really well for you. A lot of times it's send the mock-ups and kind of do it that way, but I like the idea. In person, it depends on how big your service area is. It depends on how busy you are. Sometimes you can't do the service area. If you're wanting to try Christmas lights, should you get an LLC or just run it through your pressure washing for the first year? You can do it either which way, Steve. You can. I wouldn't even probably do an LLC. I would do a DBA because a DBA costs you $15, $20. DBA is in doing business as, and just do it that way. So that way, I don't like the pressure washing business as hanging Christmas lights because a lot of times that don't sound like a professional Christmas light business. And again, what we can do, Stephen, is just do it as you can just do it as a way to, I would just do it as a DBA. So that way you can still have a Christmas light business. Yes, I'll PU you on Facebook. Awesome. I'll send you the link to it. So that is awesome. So again, if you're wanting with the DBA, that's what I would do. I would just do the DBA and you can hammer it with the DBA. That's going to be your easiest way of doing it. So for sure. What other questions you all got? You going to let me get off here early, not pick my brain because you're too scared to ask a question? Or are you going to ask a question? What questions you all got? I'm waiting for you. Let's hear them. Otherwise, I'm going to do some selling. You need some lights? You need some Christmas lights? You need some bulbs? You need some clips? Go to christmaslights.io. Again, if you do the starter pack or more, you can have the free Christmas light class this upcoming weekend. It's going to be a virtual class coming up. And so if you want me to do, I know some people want an in-person class. Originally, I was going to have it as an in-person. I changed it to an online. I will do in-person one-on-ones, and it'll be kind of to our schedules as if that's something that you would want to do. Jacob, I'm thinking $8 a foot. Don't think about it. Just go after it. Go for it. Do it. I'm in North Dakota. My ideal, what should I start my price per foot? $8 a foot. Just do it. First year. 5-inch stakes or 10-inch stakes. I like 8-ounce stakes, 16-ounce stakes. Depends on your area, honestly. if you get a lot of snow, I would do 10-inch stakes. If you don't get a lot of snow, I would do 8-inch, or the 5-inch. So that way they're a little bit closer to the ground, less likely to get knocked over. If you get a lot of snow, I want to get them up a little bit higher, so that way they're more likely to stay out of the snow. So depends on your area, honestly. The best time, Barry put, the best time to start was yesterday. The second best time to start is right now after this live stream. Most common mistake you see from people installing for the first time, not get trained. That is what I see, because I see people that take way longer than they should. And so not getting trained properly is a huge, because if you don't understand the tips and tricks and the ins and outs of it, it's going to make it a little bit tougher on you. So that is for sure. Also, I want to hit on something else. If you are planning to come to my class this weekend, and you get the starter pack, make sure you have a pair of cutters for when we do class. So that way you can do the cutting and do everything on your end as I'm doing it on my end, so you'll understand it a lot better. So that's kind of what we will want. So if you have cutters, that way you'll be able to cut the wire, make your males and females, and do all of those things that you need to do. Also, another common problem for first people is not charging enough, not believing in themselves, and not charging enough. How's the sales like usually now to the end of October versus November? Expect it to pick up a lot as we get closer. Yes. So right now, the sales are probably still not going to be the greatest unless you've done a lot of good marketing and you know how to close sales. You will see a lot more come in November. Once November gets here, it will blow up a lot more. It kind of can stay slow right now, as we speak. Mr. Johnson, that's not it. Sometimes this computer drives me crazy. Well, I'm not going to be able to show it up to everybody. I'm just going to have to read it. I actually talked to you today. How willing are you to give extensive deals during prior to November? What square footage would you shoot for those bookings before November? I'm not giving no deals at all, because here's what happens. If you give let's say you take off 20%. Let's say you're at $8 a foot and you take off, let's do easy math, because I know you're not at $10 a foot, but let's say you're at $10 a foot, and then you give off 25%. So that drops you down to $750. Let's say you're at $8 now, it drops you down to $550. Here's what's going to happen. Come November 15th, they're going to be like, here's the quote you gave me for this low, cheap price, and now you're going to have to go do this low, cheap price instead of doing that high price house, right? Just stick with it and go with it and believe in it. 16 ounce. Another question, should I pre-qualify my leads or just go to all my estimates without letting them know the average ticket? If you are going to go in person, you most definitely want to do a pre-qualification. And here's what you can do with the pre-qualification. Don't say the word minimums. Don't say words like that, because again, the words we speak are super important, right? The words we come out of our mouth are super important. And so with that said, this is the service that we're going to do, and this is how we're going to do it. Our packages start at only $900, and this provides the design, the lights, the whole 9 yards, blah, blah, blah. Does that sound like something that you are interested in for me to give you a quote for your home? and then you shut up and listen. And it's going to be one of two things. It's going to be yes, or it's going to be hell no. Just like the guy you spoke on the phone with, it's his third year and he hasn't had any actual training. He could have he could have bent the curve. Yep. Can't wait for the season. I can't either. It's going to be awesome. This is why it takes him 3 hours. Yep. When quoting large commercial jobs, what hidden costs do you need to make sure you account for? Equipment rentals, labor, etc. It kind of depends on what do you mean by large commercial jobs. When commercial jobs, are we talking just buildings, or are we talking like big trees, which that's completely different. I'm not even going to hit that. There's not that much more other than if you need lifts or whatever that might be. Yes, sir. What are your thoughts on having different service areas ran by separate crews? We could cover New Jersey and New York, 2 hour radius of Manhattan. What are your thoughts on having different service areas ran by separate crews? Absolutely. Why couldn't you do that? Have wherever you have your lights set up for this one and they not coming all the way back to here? Absolutely 100%. Um, you know, we kind of had 4 crews going, but we had an hour and a half service, maybe more than that, an hour and a half, 2 hour service area, because we were in the middle. So we had one crew that went 45 minutes to an hour south, and we had another crew went 45 minutes to an hour north, which that put us up in Dayton. The other one put us down below Walton, and that was allowed us to do that larger service area that way. Marcos, would you recommend the pitch hopper or the goat steep assist for first to pitch? For that, this is what I would recommend. I would recommend the pitch hopper and Cougar Paws is what I would recommend. Unless you're good on a roof, but I would do pitch hopper, Cougar Paws, and then I would probably do the goat. Now, if you like hanging on to something and you are a little bit scared on the roof and you want to hang on to something, then I would probably look at the goat, because that's gives you a little bit something that you can actually hang on to, you can stand on. It gives you a little bit more stability, I guess I could say. Shopping centers. So if you're looking at shopping centers and just putting lights on it, there's not much more special for it. We would love to install near the Hamptons. There's money up there. Thanks for the advice. Yeah, there is money up there. But you know what? There's also cheap guys up there too. But that's okay. You don't need everybody. You just need a few people. You only need 100 people to pay you an average ticket of $3,000, and you make $300,000, right? And so that's what we want. We don't want everybody. We only want a few people. So that's the importance, right? Do you still recommend a 3-year contract? If you want to sell the business, I would try to do 3-year contracts. Um, I think it can be good. It can definitely be good. I know people that do it different, a little bit different every way, but I wouldn't get focused on it. You know I had one guy, he got so super focused on it. And it was like all about this 3-year contract. It's like, dude, quit being so super focused on it. Just go with it. If they don't want it, they don't want it. Right? I'm still probably going to offer them a discount next year of, hey, if you show up, here's your discount of 10% if you allow me to install it by October. Or, hey, I'm not going to raise your prices if you allow me to install it by October. So those are things that I would look at. So again, christmaslights.io. If you need lights, go check it out. If you buy the starter pack this week, you will be able to come to my in-person. If you want to go check out the online course, it'll be Friday and Saturday. It's going to be virtual. I'm going to set up my camera here, and some of it I'll be here on the computer, and then I'll be over in front of, I got to figure out how to move all this stuff this week, and to make it work well. And so that's going to be my challenge this week of how I can make sure that you all are. I know how I can do the audio. I just got to figure out how to do the rest of the in-person part of it that everybody will be able to see. And we'll figure it out, right? We'll figure it out because you know what? We can figure crap out. That's the awesome thing about it. And so we can figure things out. And so with that, that is what I've got going on. If you want to go check it out, don't want to buy the lights, that's fine. christmaslights.io/IPT for in-person training. I know it's not technically in person. I have had some people ask about an in-person training. If you want me to do an in-person training one-on-one, it will be a 2-day class, and I can set that up for you. Do you? How do I get people to close on the spot rather than waiting to hear back after they view their quote? So I'm assuming, is that in person or is that online? I don't know what that is. Do you have a warehouse near Virginia? I have a warehouse in Indianapolis, which will get to you in about 2 days. You order it one day, it'll come 2 days later. Who is your best student? My best student, I've got a couple of them. It's what's the definition of best, right? What's the definition of best? I've trained thousands of people, and I got a lot of amazing students. I got people that you probably wouldn't even know that was one of my students. So that's the thing with what I say. Who's your biggest success story? I've got several. I mean, I go back pretty far. Are we talking like Donovan? He's probably one of my biggest people that I was one of his original trainers for him, and when we used to do. Or we talking about Sam Else that's doing city zoos and everything? Are we talking Daniel that in 3 years he's going to be at 1.5 million? What are we talking about, right? I've got several people. Are we talking about Pink Pro Wash that got to 1 million in 4 years, right? And so, and has several employees, and they had some bad luck this past week. And so keep them in your prayers because they need them. Their building burnt down, or didn't burn down, but caught on fire. So they need your prayers. They got a lot to deal with. So there's, right, I got lots of people that I've helped be successful, and that's the awesome key of it, of helping coach them through it and getting through it. And so I've been on many coaching calls with a bunch of these people that I just talked about. Barry Little's going to do 1 million in 2 years, maybe. So you never know who might do what. So again, it's about taking action. Every one of these people I've talked about, man, they take action. They take massive action. Is it always right? No, but they take action. So that's what it's all about. What do they do to achieve that? Take action. That's what they do to do it. They take action. Daniel's been calling since January of last year, and he learned how to close on the phone, and he learned how to talk on the phone, and he's just, those are the things that set you apart. Those are the things that make it better for people. So, but that's kind of where it is with that. So, but with that, again, christmaslights.io. If you need, if you want to know when I go live, you can text the word light, LITE, as soon as I find it here, to 855-619-5483. If you have any questions, or if you want to text me at this number of any questions, and you can call me on this phone number. I will answer it most of the time if I'm not on the phone with somebody else. At 855-619-5483. If you got questions about Christmas lights, if you need to order supplies, you need to talk to me. You want to make sure you get the right supplies. If you want to order permanent lights and you want me to sit down and go through the permanent lights with you to make sure you get the right stuff, send me a message or send me a phone call. I might set up a Zoom call so we can kind of walk through it to help you get what you need. Again, I am here to help you in anything that you need. I am one to make sure that you can get it, right? That is my goal is to help you. I'm setting up my new company first thing tomorrow morning. Lights, not wife. I did 2 million last year with my painting business. Awesome. That's amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Great job. You should be proud of yourself for that, man. I don't know how long you've been in business, but that's amazing. What if your first year requires you to scale up an equipment faster than you were wanting? Was hoping to do some smaller jobs to build capital to get bigger, ladder, etc. Well, you go close jobs. That means you got deposits, if you didn't get deposits, that means you should have took training class so you did get your deposits. So you get your deposits, so that way you get your 50% up front. So that allows you to buy materials, and that also allows you to buy ladders and safety equipment. So that's what you do. So with that, again, if you need anything, holler at me, text me, email me, whatever you need. I'm here to help you grow your business. I think it's exciting to see people growing and seeing people hit 6 figures and 7 figures and 8 figures, and it's amazing what you can do. But if you don't take action, nothing happens. So go out there this week, take action. Yes, it's good, but my wife spends it all. Need to start this to keep her funded. Jason, you're awesome with all the information. Hope others succeed in awesome. Thank you, Stephen. But again, have a great week. Go out there, close jobs, make it happen, and we'll see you all later.